Well, hey, my friend. Welcome to Creatives on Fire, the go-to podcast for content creators looking to grow their audience as well as their income. I'm so excited you're here. I'm your host, Melanie Ferguson. Welcome back to the podcast, you guys. This week, I am thrilled to invite my friend, Maria Elena Duron, to the podcast. And she is actually an official Google trainer and marketing coach. In her field, she is the best. Maria, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Melanie. I'm thrilled to be here. Appreciate you inviting me too.
Of course. So for those of you who don't know, Maria and I met a couple years back at the Achieve conference that I've talked about here on the podcast before. And we reconnected this year, of course, as well. And I was like, you got to come over and be on the podcast. So here she is.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you asked. This is exciting, and I'm so glad that we were able to reconnect.
Yes. And so for you all listening, this episode is going to be not about Google Ads, not about anything that's scary, but it's going to be some really insightful information that I'm just going to let Maria run with. And it's going to be kind of pertaining to blogging and being seen online. So Maria, take it away.
Yes, I'm excited to be here because blogging is where I had gotten my start. So back in 2006, I know long time ago, but that's when I started blogging, and it was really my first adventure into doing things more consistently online. And at that time, I actually connected with a lot of bloggers. It was one of the inspirations that I had to begin a Twitter chat. So it seems like it's anytime I want to learn something online, I just go deep dive for full immersion, and I'm going to figure this out. And that's actually where the birth of Brand Chat came. And so for 12 years, it was in the top 10 Twitter chats in the world because of that, because we did that on a weekly basis, talking about branding, personal branding, and how you exude that either through blogging, through video, through social. And now it's so exciting to be able to reconnect sometimes with people that we called branditos who were awfully active and very active within Brand Chat, and just to see what they've done and they've applied that they've learned. So today I'm excited to talk to you about content because it's so ever changing, right? We've seen it in 2020 when TikTok really hit the scene. You know, I've been involved with AI, artificial intelligence, since 2001, before it was a buzzword, but come 2024, it's a buzzword. It's sexy. Everybody's talking about it. It's involved in search, all search, not just one platform, all searches. And it's just a very beginning. So it's a lot of times, you know, when we look at this, we have to realize what we did before is changing. Even SEO, search engine optimization, which boils down to just how much trust and confidence does the search engine, any search engine, have in the content that you have online, any of your digital properties, be it a blog, be it even any of your socials, or even if you're involved in different marketplaces from Etsy to Amazon to eBay, all of those have to look and do look at exactly, you know, how much and how accessible you are and how much you align with what the search engine's looking for, because search engines become number one search engines from the plain fact that people can find what they're looking for. So if you're lined up and you're relevant with what people are searching for, now the search engine believes that you have some information that's valuable to the users or the people who are utilizing them. And this gives you a great opportunity to show up high in search. So that's something that I know a lot of people get overwhelmed with. They think that it's very techy to look at SEO, and it really is building trust and that search engine having trust in you. Of course, now we look at AI. Oh, the shifts are so major now. Because before we used to, you know, go on to our phones or we just put in keywords, and now we full on speak our actual queries or our questions that we have. So we now have to think that search engine optimization is no longer just keywords and just keyword phrases. It's a whole conversation that people are having with search. They're having it with Bing GPT, with Chat GPT, with Perplexity, with Google Gemini. I mean, there's just a plethora of different AI out there. So I think it's important for all of us as bloggers too, to really know what is it that's important and how do we show up and make sure we're in the first 10 searches of an organic Google search. Because if we show up there, there is a halo effect that we know what we're talking about.
Yes, I love that. And I was reading on your site a little quote that you put, when it comes to Google and being found online, there's some things that are just neat to know, and then there's some things you need to know. So
Yes.
tell us, Maria, in a nutshell, what do we need to know, like to be found?
To be found, you need to know that you need to use all of your Google tools. So a lot of people don't realize that the Google tools are free with any personal Google account. So Gmail's a free Google account. You're golden there. You don't have to have the paid account. But understand Google puts a lot of trust in its own tools. So when you connect all the Google tools, there is a verification that happens when Google Analytics and Google Search Console and Google Business Profile and YouTube, those are all Google tools, are all talking to each other. And all of a sudden they realize that information that they have is consistent and the same across all the tools. The low hanging SEO effort that happens is you actually get a lift from that. There's a confidence builder in that because it trusts its own information. And the fact that it's consistent coming directly from the business owner or the blogger, the content creator, now they know that it's something that would be helpful to people. So that actually lifts you up. Now, a lot of people who blog don't think that they need the Google Business Profile because they're thinking that's just a storefront. I'm home based. I don't want people showing up at my doorfront, or I'm by appointment only. And that's really something to not think that it's just that. That's the myth. You can actually utilize a Google Business Profile and suppress your address. The big thing to know is that it is another tool, and all of these are confirmations. It's a great way for people to leave reviews for you, and understand Google reviews carry a lot of weight. There is so much value in people hearing other people speak positively about you rather than you just putting that on your website, because people always think that there's a filter there compared to an actual review that's verified, which actually can show up on Google. So you can take advantage of those things. And I think that's one of the things people don't understand, but they need to know that. They also need to know that their blogs need to be, or their digital properties. So any website that you have has to be secure. HTTPS has to have the S. It has to be mobile responsive. There's not enough money in the world that you can pay any person, freelancer, or agency that does SEO to get you to the first 10 searches of Google search if any of those things are not there, because those are considered basic and they are actually penalized by Google's algorithm. So now you're not going to show up at all, no matter what you do. So that's also important. And as I said, being able to understand those tools and how to use them. For example, Google Search Console, a lot of people don't realize that's the door to Google's library. Google's not the World Wide Web, but it is the biggest library. And Google Search Console is a chance for you to control what Google sees and also understand if the search engine is having any issues seeing anything about you. So I always ask a question of bloggers when I'm speaking to them. First of all, how many of you have Google Search Console? How many actually know how the platform's performing and what position you have within Google search? And then how many are looking to see what pages of their site are actually getting the most impressions and the most click through? Because those are three things that'll help you make good business decisions every day on what to actually focus on. There are so many things you can look at. You can do a million things and never get anything done, from actually writing a blog or doing any more connecting or being able to get the resources. But unless you look at those things, now you're just going all different directions. This gives you the ability to prioritize. And that's what I love about Google Search Console. Google Analytics tells you how people consume information on your site. And you need to be an expert on your reader. Because if you don't know what they want, then there is nothing that you'll also be able to do within Google, because you're guessing and it doesn't come across as consistent. You want to come across that you truly know who your reader is. So those are the two tools that I think people overlook, and they don't understand how to look or what reports to read in there because it's so overwhelming. They look at all the data and they think, the good thing about both of those, or especially Google Analytics, is got a search bar at the top that's analytics intelligence, which is actually AI, artificial intelligence powering analytics. So you can search out anything that you're looking for there. If you don't know how to go through the reports and filter those, don't bog yourself down with that. Just use the search function.
So that is super helpful. I think that just any time you can break those two down and make them simple is helpful, because it's very intimidating, I think, when we see those two terms used interchangeably. Now, when it comes to these Google reviews, I'm just backing up a little bit. Is there like a best way to try to collect those? Or how do you recommend?
It's to ask. So you ask all the time. I know anytime that I'm doing a webinar, I actually flash a QR code and I drop in the chat box a link to go that goes directly. And it's actually a bit.ly link because Google links to a Google review to leave a Google review are long and a lot of gibberish in there. So I just put a bit.ly link, but I make it in and put it in chat. So it's nice and clickable, or use the QR code, and both usually, and ask them to leave a review. I put it at the bottom of emails, the bottom of invoices. Anytime that I'm interacting with anybody, I tell them I'm going to model what I teach, which is always ask for a review, because 89% of people would have left you a review had you asked. But because you didn't ask and life gets in the way, they intended to, but they never did. So it's important that you go back and ask, because now they have a chance to give their actual feedback. Now, the cool thing with reviews is you can't incentivize them. All right. So you can't say, hey, leave me a good or bad review and we're going to give you a special discount or a special shout out, or you're going to get this little gift, because good or bad, that's considered incentivizing a review. And Google, definitely, anybody, I mean, Yelp, Facebook, they all don't like that. But understand that if now they leave you a review, you can't control what they say. Now, some people try to pattern and put a little bit of a quip or quote together that will help people, or even show them what other people have left in a review to kind of give them an idea, because it's really scary to look and figure out what to say in a review from the very beginning. But make it as authentic as possible. Let them leave the review. And this is where now you can actually take ownership of this by replying to the review. Because to see, a lot of us don't say thank you, not just us as bloggers, business owners in general. Don't say thank you for a good review. 97% overlook the good one. They see it, they love it, but they immediately focus on what the negative one is. And that's where our attention is put. As opposed to, let's say thank you for a good review, but just don't say thank you, that made my day, you're awesome. You want to say and use your keywords, the words that you want people to find you. So let's say you're an amazing blogger that talks a lot about the different kind of teas, how to look for teas, tea tasting, and maybe even how to steep that tea. So perhaps you want to say in the thank you, when somebody says, that they really appreciated you, your thank you for the review is, thank you so much. I do my very best to make sure that I'm looking and studying teas and doing the research so you know the best tea to choose, that you don't have to worry about wandering into something unknown, and you don't have to become a tea aficionado yourself. I'm able to drill that down into some easy, simple things that I know people are looking for in teas. I appreciate you recognizing that, and I am grateful that I was able to help you in that way. You are using all your keywords in the reply to the thank you. And that's how you can take charge and let reviews work for you.
That is awesome. Can you leave a link in your reply?
You cannot leave a link in your reply, and you can't even leave a link in Google when you do Google updates. So there are Google updates within your Google business profile that are all signals to Google that you're active in your business, or active in what you're running. So you do want to use the buttons that come with those, but never put links or phone numbers in anything that you're doing on the description or the updates or the reviews that you have on Google, because those are all red flags to Google, and they will actually then make sure that they're not visible to the public, which defeats the purpose.
How many reviews is a good amount?
If, as a blogger, you need 60 5-star reviews to compete on a national basis.
Wow, that's such good intel.
It is. And that's why a lot of people who are blogging and home based are kind of lost on that, because they think, well, I don't want a Google business profile because I don't want to show up on maps. Well, you can actually suppress the publishing of your actual site and your home and your address. You don't have to have that. So if you suppress that, now you can actually start getting reviews there. So that's what I see is people don't have the reviews only because they think that platform is not for them. And it's a place, even if you're a blogger, you also have a role of maybe, you're a sister, a mom, a volunteer, a student, a place that you work, you're the best customer of people. So they all have had a chance to see you at work, your integrity, your values, and your work ethic. So even though they may not read your blog and they still want to support you, you can ask them and say, hey, can you say good things for me on my blog? And it can help you get the 65-star reviews that you need to compete on the national stage.
Is there any way to embed that information into your About Me page or?
on your blog.
Mm-hmm.
There are several tools. One of my favorite tools is reviews on my website. I just like it because it takes an actual Google review. It provides the link to Google. So if you see it on a website and has the G on it and you're thinking, did they just put, all their nice reviews? You can actually click through and see all the actual reviews and read through them if you like, or filter through them because it goes straight to Google Business Profile.
I love that. I love that. Such good information.
Sure.
So now, for those of us who have taken a little tumble this year from our search volume by Google, what are some recommendations you have for us?
Some recommendations are, first, you need to look at all of the aspects of your website. So you're going to look first at technical SEO, which means, is everything on your site working as it should? Has anything changed? Because SEO has changed quite a bit since 2020. Actually, 2024 SEO made a huge shift. And have you been able to keep up with the updates that you need? So that's number one. You do also need to take a look and see if you know what words people are searching for you with. This is really important. Don't guess about that because that relevancy is so important. And that is why I brought up the Google Business Profile, because it's a Google tool. Remember what I said about Google trusting its own tools? Well, if you're using the words that people search you with in your actual description, now you're relevant. So now you're matching the words that they're actually using. But not only that, we know that AI is full at work, right? Artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence pulls what's known as AI overviews. You see it at the very top of a Google search. They're pulling that directly from Google Business Profiles because that is verified information from the business owner. And the specific place they're pulling it from are the questions and answers of your Google Business Profile. So are you using those? Because you can seed those facts yourself. So your FAQs, you can put, what are the top 10 questions that people ask when they come to your blog that they'd like to know? What are the top 10 answers? And if you put that into the Google Q&A of your business profile, now you're giving AI something to pull from to showcase that this is who, Melanie is the expert at this. So this is who we need to talk to and look at.
That's so awesome. So there's so many things that I know I personally am not utilizing that I think maybe others might benefit from as well. So if you had now Maria does some coaching and she has her own membership group. I can't wait for her to share about that. But if you had like one piece of advice for bloggers wanting to capture a little bit more traffic from Google than they either have in the past or would otherwise, what would you say?
One piece of advice is connect your website, your blog site with all the Google tools. I mean, it really is that important because not only does it give you better insight into understanding who your reader is or who's consuming information on your site and what the search engine sees, it is as I said, it's a signal and it's very much low hanging fruit. That's where I see most people don't even have that set up. They're working really hard on trying to figure out technical SEO. They're trying to figure out how to get everything working on their site or how to use the right words, but they don't look at the basic fact that they don't have all the Google tools connected to see and be able to even have the visibility and understand if people don't know you exist, then they can't even go and look and read at your blog. So this is letting the search engine know that and building that trust. So it will show you up higher. If the search engine doesn't trust you, then it won't show you up high in an organic search. And what is good for Google is good for any search engine. So that's why it's really important for you to take advantage of that. The second thing is always look at how fast your site is loading. Understand we made a huge shift to mobile in 2024. And because we made that huge shift, the heightened expectation is your mobile site needs to load, or your site needs to load on mobile in 1.2 seconds or less. So if it doesn't, you'll lose 53%, half of your traffic. And for every second over, you'll lose another 10%. And I see a lot of people putting beautiful photos and videos up, and they don't realize that a lot of businesses actually have a desktop version of their site and a mobile version. They're not one and the same, because on a desktop, you get a little bit more time to load and it loads faster. But on mobile, when you're having to deal with mobile cell services and data services to load, it works a whole lot slower. So that 600 dot per inch beautiful photo that you think looks amazing on your site is too big for a mobile device and is either slowing everything down. So you're losing a lot of traffic that you might be sending over with a newsletter or from socials. And then also what's happening is if it does load, it may be a red X. So either way, it's not doing you any benefit at all.
I agree. And so what tool do you recommend the highest for compressing?
For compressing, there are so many tools, so I can't say one or the other because I don't have a favorite. It just seems like whatever I decide to Google at that day. But I do recommend compressing down to 96 DPI.
Perfect. And then, so when it comes on that same line of thinking to the core web vitals, how much weight should we put on passing or failing?
You want to be at 80. So a lot of businesses, whenever I look at that at first, they might be on mobile, like at a 97. But then when you go, a desktop at 97. But then when you go to mobile, they're at 32. And I'm like, most people come by mobile. 84% of us go mobile first. We never look at a desktop unless it's very purposeful.
So when it comes to core web vitals and say you're not passing because you have an ad management company on your site with ads, beating your site with ads. Is there anything we can do about that, or is that just the way it is?
With the media sites, I don't know enough about that, Melanie, to be of assistance to you because I'm not sure exactly how much script they put on there and what they're using. But I always tell people reduce down what you have already before you even put anything like that on, because you want to give them as much space as possible so you can monetize your site as possible. So if you think about that, for example, some themes that people have in WordPress or even Wix and Squarespace take 3.8 seconds to load, just the theme. So that's just all the graphics in the background and the beautiful color. So if that you're planning to monetize that, you better have a theme that loads in less than 1 second. It needs to load much faster. Then you need to take a look at, what do you have running back there? With all the different apps that you connect. Every time you connect apps to your website, each one slows it down. Well, Google has a tool called Google Tag Manager where you can actually offload. Google Tag Manager has two purposes. One is it tags events and analytics to tell you what people are doing on your page. Like, did they go to Facebook to check your credibility or to Instagram? Did they go to a competitor site? You can track all that with events. But it also can offload the weight of apps. So you can actually connect apps to your Google Tag Manager so they're not embedded in your site. Therefore, it makes it a whole lot faster because we see a lot of times that JavaScript is what is slowing down in the background. So I know I'm not a coder at all, so I don't want to act like I speak code, but I do know.
Holiday Inn last night, so coding. So we're
Coding.
coding experts.
But you definitely, like, let's say you put a photo or video there and you delete it and pull it off. Sometimes there's remnants of the code that you don't know because visually we don't see it and we don't read code, but it's there slowing things down on the site. So it's really important that you keep that clean. Make sure you look at your JavaScript and you make sure you're not overloading with apps and keeping those themes and graphics as low as possible.
So when you say apps, are you meaning interchangeably like plugins?
Yes, plugins. So sometimes when it could be that something is bringing in, review comments, or that you have something that is putting recommendations on your site, different recommendations. Again, if you're working with a media company or an ad company, you want to give them as much space as possible since that's important to your income, but try to lessen down everything else in your structure.
And this Google Tag Manager, where do we find it? And is it something the layperson can figure out, or is it something you should have your host or somebody back end work on?
I think it's somebody in your back end. You can. There's a lot of training on YouTube. You could go to YouTube and watch any video at all to take you through it, but it really depends how comfortable and how frequently you want to do that. A lot of times when I see people, they'll understand Google Tag Manager for a few days, but because they don't use it quite regularly, the next time they need to go in there to do that, it feels like it's learning things all over again. So if you are working with a host or a web development company, then ask them to take a look at that and really to explain to you how they're using it and if they can take any of the weight off. When you run your Core Web Vitals, when you do the page speed insights, you can actually click on the share link at the top and send that to a web developer or hosting company that you're working with if you have a team behind there supporting you, and share, these are what's slowing me down. I need you to fix all of the items in red. And you'll find on that actual report, they can click on the caret pointing down. It'll expand it out and explain in great detail exactly what's happening. Most of us who are not coders don't know exactly what it says, but a web developer will.
Gotcha.
What you have on your site and that it matches what people are looking for and that it's helpful, that's more important than the other. So if I had to decide, am I going to make sure that my blog matches what people are looking for compared to doing this? I'm going to make sure that happens first, because there's so much happening with AI right now that I know if I lean heavy into that, I'm being helpful to the person that's searching with the information, then the other side might actually fix itself eventually. But I need this first and foremost, because that's what I uniquely as a person can bring to the table.
I love that. Okay, so we touched on YouTube for 5 seconds. We mentioned it. How much benefit is it to use YouTube videos in your blog posts?
It is so beneficial because YouTube is the number 2 search engine in the world. Google's number 1. 94% of people go to Google first when they're searching. And, after they may discover in some of the socials, but then when they're really searching, they go to Google. The second search engine is YouTube, and YouTube's a search engine and a social platform. It's the number 2 search engine, number 2 social platform, because there's community in there. You can have community comments. There's just a whole bunch of interaction that actually launched as the AI in YouTube was starting to be brought out, where you can now ask questions of YouTube videos and AI will search it. You can see that the transcripts are already there and available to you. So there's a lot of opportunity for you to be seen by other traffic that may never come to a blog. They're more visual learners and they see that, but now they see a link between that YouTube video and your blog, or somebody who's read your blog but knows that they need not just the visual, but they need the auditory from that. So they're going to go in there. It's a great way to be discovered. And the easier you make it for people to find you on 2 of the top search engines in the world, the better for your visibility.
Agree. And let me ask you, on the note of YouTube, is there a better choice whether you should just link out to a YouTube video or actually embed it into the blog post?
You can do either. They're both just as effective. Just look at, sometimes YouTube videos can weigh down your site too. So you're looking at site speed there.
What about in Google Console or Search Console? Sometimes you can either have it show your video pages or not show your video pages.
With Google Search Console, I like Google to see everything. So I do make sure that they're visible in Google Search Console. I want everything visible to Google because it's letting me know where it actually can show up and where I might be having some issues that I could easily fix.
I so appreciate you coming on here, Maria. This has been such a treat. Tell us where we can find you.
Melanie, you can find me on Instagram. I'm at Marketing Coach Maria. You can also find me on LinkedIn under my name, Maria Elena Duron. Of course, the website, which is KLIbrand.com. You can find me there. Every Wednesday, I do a free webinar Wednesday where we go over all of this for people who have questions or it's their first time ever even looking and hearing the name Google Search Console. Anything like that, they can get an introduction on Webinar Wednesdays. And those are all listed on the website. When they're available, you can register. Again, it's 100% for free. And then we do have a membership that is a paid membership where they can find me. So we have a free marketing community on Facebook with a Facebook group. Then we do have a membership community, and that's actually in Facebook group and also within Member Vault. So we have it there and they can get some videos. We actually have a monthly get together where they can ask questions, but anytime. A lot of people like to become a member just because they might see a webinar and now they want to ask me some in-depth questions. They can ask in the membership, and I actually do video reviews and walkthroughs of how to find things and do different things so that they're not just left trying to figure it out by themselves. And if they'll share their actual accounts with me, the back end of their accounts, I can show them where to see that. But again, it's really up to them. I don't want anybody to feel obligated to do that. I can show you that even with a demo account.
It sounds spectacular. Just to have you on speed dial, basically in your back pocket. So Marketing Coach Maria. All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited you were able to make it, and I appreciate you.
Thank you, Melanie, very much. I'm so glad to be able to have this time with you too.
You're welcome.